Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Sci-Fi Christian Screening Room. I changed our name before we did, in between.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Yeah, well, I figure we're going to do a series. We might as well have numbers and differentiate us from the podcast. So anyway, we're reviewing The Exorcist today. I'm Ben DeBono.
I'm Ben Kirkwald.
This is the film that Billy Graham once said the very celluloid was possessed by Satan, so we'll hope that didn't extend to Blu-ray copies as well.
I don't think it did. That's quite how it works.
But before we get to that, so it's all Halloween themed all around, and we are drinking Surly Darkness, which is one of the great beers.
I feel like we should post this as a Surly Darkness review.
Yeah.
So this is Ben and I last week. I don't know if you've talked about this.
I have not.
So Ben and I are both huge Surly Darkness fans. Probably one of the, depending on where you want to put it, one of the top 10 beers that is released in the United States in the entire year, in the entire country, I would say.
Yep.
And it's only like
and you can find objective non-Minnesota sites that say that.
Right, yeah. I mean, so last Saturday it was released. Ben and I camped out all night, Friday night into Saturday.
I'm just making sure I hit record.
And, yeah, that would have been shitty if you didn't. Camped out all night for it.
Yep.
We got 6 bottles apiece.
Yep.
If you go to your local liquor store right now, 95% chance they don't have any. And if they do have some, the limit is either 1 or 2 bottles per person.
So it's worth it.
We camped out all night. We got 6 bottles. It was an epic story that if you want to, I don't know, direct message or whatever, we're not going to tell you it. It was a long night.
It rained on us.
Yeah, it was a heck of a very good learning experience.
Yeah, we needed to bring a tent and other various things. But yeah, this is
anything but a chair.
Yeah, this is a legendary beer.
Yeah, so this is top 10 beers of the entire year in the United States, and this is actually last year's. So this is a bottle that's aged for a full year now.
Yeah.
And then hopefully maybe tonight, we'll see how we're doing, but tonight or whenever we'll try this year's version as well. But
yes,
we thought we'd see how last year's had aged before we get into.
Now we did actually have some of last year's when we were waiting in line. The guy next to us opened a bottle of it, but
yeah.
This is a little better experience. We're not drinking out of solo cups and
at 2 a.m.
Exactly. Though I will say, when you've been sitting outside and it wasn't freezing. Like this weekend would have been horrible. I would have 1 week ago exactly.
Yeah, but it was supposed to have been 2 weeks ago, which would have been right. It was 70 degrees.
Yeah. Today, if we were out there, it's like 30 degrees and 30-mile-an-hour winds
and snowing. Yeah, this would have been a not fun night.
Exactly.
We would have been a lot closer to the front, though.
That's true.
If you live anywhere near Minnesota and you're interested in going to Surly Fest for this beer, I think both of us would highly recommend the overnight wait as long as you have a tent.
Yeah, bring a tent.
Because you're going to, plan on sleeping. But then
we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't. That was foolish.
Yeah.
We're not 20 anymore.
No. Those all-nighters. It's like, holy crap. Right? I can't do that anymore. You're 29? 28? Okay, so you still have 2 more years.
Yeah.
Because I figure 30 is the cutoff.
Right.
I'm 32, so I can't do the all-night thing anymore.
I did it. I did it.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah.
Well, I did it too. It wasn't good.
Right.
But yeah, so next year, assuming we do it again, we'll be better prepared. But man, that's a good beer.
Good Lord, this is amazing.
Yeah, so this is a Russian Imperial Stout, 12%. Or at least this year's was 12%, I think.
Yeah, they switched Surly Brewery's brewmaster left to start his own brewery in Germany, I believe, to start kind of a craft brew business in Germany.
Oh, I didn't know that's where he left for.
Yeah, I think he went to Germany, because that's where he's originally from, was Germany.
Oh, okay.
So I think he went back there to start his own.
Yeah, so this was the first year with the new.
So this is the first year with the new one, but if you've ever made beer before, it's a recipe. I mean, there are some slight variations that can change some things, but if you follow a baking recipe, you are going to make the same thing every time.
That's true.
So,
all right, so on to the movie, The Exorcist. I have a feeling we're going to disagree about this one a little bit. So this is one of my favorite movies, but I got the vibe from you that maybe you were not so sure after we finished.
No, you know...
Which is fine. Like,
I
if we
would say
fight,
that,
that's great. That everybody loves a good
right?
fight.
I wouldn't say that I didn't like it. I enjoyed that movie.
Okay.
I would say that I enjoyed the movie.
You enjoyed the movie. You're not a huge horror fan, too.
Well, I wouldn't even call this a horror movie.
Wait a second. Time out here. We were waiting in line. We were talking about The Shining, and you said you didn't consider The Shining a horror movie. Now we watched The Exorcist, and you don't consider that a horror movie. So that's the best and now the second best horror movies ever made. What's a horror movie? Define horror movie for me.
Let's clarify. So, let's call it, I would not consider it a modern style horror movie where the goal is to scare you to death. Like, if you think about movies like Saw or The Exorcism of Emily Rose or things like that, like, those kinds of movies are meant to just scare you. Whereas this movie was meant to be a little bit more thought-provoking. Same thing with The Shining.
That's true.
Right? But so it's a different genre of, I mean, you could break down horror movies into, I feel like you could break them down into the old school, actually making you think about what's happening versus just there to scare the living crap out of you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Saw's pedigree is much more in the slasher type of genre.
Yeah.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose, I would say, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it owes a lot to The Exorcist. I would say that one, I don't know if I can go there with you.
I'm just talking my ass with that one.
Okay, that's fine. Those are the only two other horror movies you've seen?
I haven't seen the Emily Rose.
Wow, that really is out of your ass.
I know,
Wow!
Well, I was
but you've seen Saw.
I have seen 4 out of the...
Oh, you're doing better than me. I've only seen the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I thought the first one was really good, and then they're going to get dumber from there, so...
I thought 2 was fine. 3 was like, alright, sure, but it was still good. And then 4 was just like, just stop.
And you're not in line for Jigsaw? That came out today.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. No, I'd rather watch Stranger Things today.
Okay.
It came out today.
Yeah,
you haven't watched?
No.
No, man, that's good. That's a good thriller, sci-fi, kind of an 80s movie. Anyways.
Yeah. But just so we're clear, The Exorcist is a horror movie.
Yeah. It's just on a it's not apples to apples with the horror movies that are coming out today.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Or at least most of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I liked this movie because I did not have the crap scared out of me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like to me, a horror movie is a lot more effective if it's unsettling rather than, jump
right, rather than like the lights go out and then something appears over your shoulder.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I think that's why I enjoyed this one a little bit more and The Shining a little bit more than I would have movies that are coming out today that are horror movies.
Well, I mean, you think about like jump scares are just so cheap because like my kids can do jump scares to each other. There's no artistry involved with the jump scares. The equivalent of hiding behind the couch and jumping out.
But it still is scary. But it still gets the adrenaline flowing a little bit more than...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like movies like that don't really hold up very well.
No, it's a one viewing.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Like, I saw it, and I liked it, but my opinion of it kind of steadily declined the further away I got from the movie.
Right.
It's like when you're sitting there watching it, it was fine, but then
you start processing it. You're like, actually, yeah. So I liked it. I don't know. I feel like so with the beginning sequence, and I think it was the sound discrepancies that made me feel like I was watching something that Stanley Kubrick may have made.
Okay.
So
He was courted to direct this movie.
right, but he didn't.
He did not.
But I just feel like the unsettling nature, especially when we're in the northern Iraq scenes,
Yep.
right, of the sounds, like blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden a completely like silence, completely different sound there, made me feel like I was missing something that was there. Like I felt like I was trying to look for the entire movie, and maybe I wasted my viewing experience on it, but felt like I was trying to look for some sort of subplot that was going on in the background of the entire movie. I didn't really find any.
Okay, well, we'll get... Yeah, I think there might be some stuff there that I can help you out with.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so you start with Northern Iraq, and I should say we watched the director's cut. So maybe just a word on that, because you've never seen either cut, so
No.
it's a little the same to you. So I can't pin down all the sequences for you. The initial sequence where she goes to the doctor for the very first time is in the director's cut only. Which, that's a little jarring because she kind of goes from being perfectly well to at the doctor with really nothing in between. So that one's a little... The editing on that is a little weird in the director's cut. The spider walk scene is director's cut only, which I'm fine with, but I can take it or leave it. Trying to think of what else. But the one that the reason we watched the director's cut is because in the exorcism scene at the end when Marin and Karis are sitting on the stairs in the cut, there's no dialogue between them there. Whereas you get this great line from Marin where Karis asks, "Why is this happening?" and he gets to...
Oh, that line is fantastic.
Yeah, it's like
How
the
could
heart...
that feels like a classic movie line,
Yes,
right?
well... You know,
so why do you cut out that 30 seconds? It just doesn't...
Well, there's a story behind that. So William Peter Blatty and William Friedkin. William Friedkin's the director, Blatty's the author of the novel and of the screenplay. And they were collaborating on this movie, and by that point, Friedkin was getting a little annoyed with Peter Blatty, and so he decided to shut him out of the editing room at one point, and... William Peter Blatty was really fighting for that line, and William Friedkin was annoyed with him, and so he just took out the line that he really wanted. And
could you imagine if that line was in there, though?
It's so good, yeah.
I mean, it could have changed cinematic history or something, you know?
Yeah, it's a great line.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the scene that pushes me over to the director's cut, because everything else is kind of take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But that is so good. It's the heart of the movie.
I sat there for a minute about that line. I didn't realize it wasn't in the regular movie. No. Right. I mean, I sat there and processed that for a while, because they give you time to process after that line is given, too.
Yes. So let's back up a little bit. So before we get to, subtext and all that maybe you didn't catch in the first viewing, which, is, first viewing, especially of a layered movie, you're not going to catch everything. But this is a movie, obviously, I'm sure you've heard about over the years.
Yeah.
So how did it line up with expectations? Or not? So
things I knew about before we started this movie was, I knew that she went to the I knew that this girl went to the doctor and the doctors were like, we don't know what to do with her, right?
Right.
And then I knew about the bed shaking. I had heard about the cross and the blood and that part. I had heard or seen in parodies and like Family Guy and stuff. The
Family Guy version.
The Family. Well, seriously though, right? Like, or Scary Movie 3 or whatever, they do that kind of stuff. I had heard about. I knew that the older priest was going to die.
Yeah.
But I didn't know much past that. I mean, I knew that she had levitated off the bed. I feel like some of those higher points there.
Pea soups, throw up, projectile.
Yeah, I knew that, and then and like Scary Movie 3 where she just throws up for like 30 seconds.
I believe it or not, I've not seen Scary Movie 3.
I believe that. It's probably not Scary Movie 3. It's probably, I don't know, one of those parody movies.
One of them. Just start at the beginning and...
can watch them in college at 2 a.m. when you're still up.
Right.
So, I had seen a lot of those kinds of things. I felt like in a lot of the parody stuff that I had seen of The Exorcist, there was a lot more to that extra bathroom part.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
The bathroom never...
Like, they always tend to make fun of, like, people in the bathroom.
Oh.
Like, they have, like, the older priest going in there and, like, taking a dump, or, like... I'm just telling you what...
That's awesome when you're coming to it through parody. You're like, why is he going in the bathroom? Does he have to take a crap?
Well, no, and it's like... And then, like, I don't know, like a bunch of flies, like, attack him or something, and it was like... So I was just waiting for something to happen in the bathroom, because clearly, if you're going to make fun of it in the parody, something in the actual movie happens in the bathroom, right?
Well, no, apparently not necessarily.
Not
it could just be there's a bathroom there. They took advantage of it.
They apparently so.
Well, you know how that, like, they're sitting there writing Scary Movie 3, and they think, you know, there's that bathroom there. What if they just had to take a shit halfway through the Exorcist?
Well, no, I think what it was, as I realized it while we were watching, was he says, "Would you excuse me for a moment?" and then goes into the bathroom. And that's exactly what you say before you even go, like, and so they just, their minds, these people who are writing these parody movies, just spiraled into...
I just love that that's what you were on some level expecting to happen there.
I was expecting something to happen in the bathroom, and nothing did, and that was surprising.
Well, he took his pills, you know, they wash off the stole.
Those pills in the 1970s, was it like cocaine in pill form? Like, we don't know. It doesn't matter.
I think it's in the book, but I can't remember what he's taking.
Okay.
So, expectations were a little skewed by family movie and scary guy. Right. Or scary movie. Family movie and scary... Wow, I botched that completely. Scary movie and Family Guy.
Yeah.
That would be a series.
I would say, overall, it was probably better than I expected. I thought it started off way slower than I really expected it. Because, I mean, a lot of the critical scenes take place as soon as the older priest... escaping me gets there, right? And so for everything that I've seen or heard about, that's where the movie starts. Mm-hmm. But we took like an hour and a half to get there.
Right. I think.
And I guess I didn't realize. I mean, I knew that there was going to be some sort of build up with her, and I knew that we had to set up like her before this whole thing went down. But I was really confused by the Northern Iraq stuff at the beginning. Still not sure why we needed at least, 10 minutes probably of footage in there before we go off. I don't know.
Yes, in some ways this is a 30-minute movie with an hour and a half prologue.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Is that how the book reads too?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
Is that the meat of it is this showdown between Father Merrin and the demon.
Right.
You know, but that said, the reason that's so strong is because of the tension that's built up with everything that comes before. So, one of the major subtexts of the movie, well, we can talk about Iraq in a second, but one of the major subtexts of the movie is the need for a father on every single level, right? So, you have Damien, we see his mother, we never see his father.
Right.
You have Reagan's father is gone. We never...
Absent. Never
he's absent.
It,
exactly. Yeah. He's one of the most important characters in the movie, but he's never actually seen or heard on screen.
Right.
Interesting note on that is that his name in the novel is Howard, which makes the fact that her imaginary demon friend is Captain Howdy is very close to Howard. And so you have this whole theme of fatherlessness running through that first hour and a half of the movie, and then, you know, when Father Merrin shows up, we're down to business and everything.
Right.
So you have that going on. You have Damien's whole wrestling with unbelief throughout the movie.
Yeah.
You know, and even when he goes and requests the exorcism, finally, there's this... the bishop asks him, "Do you really believe it?" No. You know. And what's great is that you watch that performance during the exorcism scene and you can see the conversion taking place. It's fantastic.
I think almost against his will. He almost doesn't want to believe what's
Right.
happening there.
Yep.
And I think that the guilt is almost too much, which I think makes when he's lying there in the street, the final rights being given there. I think that really is almost more powerful than it would have been if he would have been a priest the whole time.
Exactly.
Right? Because that's him coming back to the faith right before he is going to die.
Yeah. So the purpose of the Iraq scene is really to set up the character of Father Merrin so he doesn't come out of nowhere at the end of the movie, but also to set up this sense of that we're about to watch an hour and a half of everyone else kind of running around not having a clue, whereas in that sequence he doesn't even know what's going on yet, but he knows that this confrontation is coming. And there's that kind of great showdown shot as he climbs the hill and he sees the idol, and he's, it's... I think it's a sequence that resonates more on a second viewing of the movie than it does on the first, because I remember having a similar reaction of, what? What are we doing?
Like, I get that we're here and it's going to be relevant at some point,
right?
But then you're an hour and a half into the movie and you're like, what happened to the guy in Iraq?
Yeah, and so it is something that works better, I think, when you have seen the whole picture and then you come back to it and then you're like, oh, that's Father Merrin, and you also set up, he's taking pills at the beginning, and so you kind of have some setup with the whole heart condition and all that, and just this sense of that this is a man who is at the end of his life, but he knows what's going on, and he takes evil seriously, and this is the type of man who's going to show up and not have all of these kind of Western qualms that all the other characters do in the movie.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah. I still think that Jesus, they could have cut out the scene where he's talking to the guy inside and, well, I don't know, I guess the clock stops. But, I feel like the line on the stairs is more important. I'm going to cut that out and put the other one in.
Yeah, well, yeah. If I mean, go with one. I think the line on the stairs was just William Friedkin being petty and pissed off. Like, fine, you really want that scene? Well, guess what? It's gone.
Was he up for Best Picture or any sort of award?
I don't know. It didn't win Best Picture. I think it might have been nominated, though.
But I bet that line would have put it over the edge.
It could be.
Petty. Can't be petty.
He came back and he said it right finally.
He did in the director's cut.
25 years later.
Yeah, 25 years later.
Did you catch some of the subliminal imagery throughout?
Yeah, the demons, on the hood of the stove.
Yep.
In the dreams and all that stuff, yeah.
Right. So that was actually Linda Blair's stunt double during a makeup test. And they never used any of that makeup, but she wound up looking really freaky in the makeup test, so they went with it.
Yeah. I don't know, I've never been a big fan of subliminal messaging like that, I guess. I feel like it is not very subliminal.
That's true. I mean, it's not truly subliminal.
No.
It's if you can actually see it, it's not subliminal.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that were left unaddressed, maybe in the movie. So, Damien's mother, I feel like is left very unaddressed, very open-ended.
Right.
And I feel like the homicide detective's part in the movie is why he shows up and what's his motives and everything, I feel like is left a little vague. A little vague. We have the vandalism in the church that I felt like if you're going to bring that up, needs to play a bigger part, but it does not.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Some of that, which, you got to rate the movie as the movie, some of that has a larger role in the book, particularly the vandalism comes into play a little bit more.
Okay.
In fact, there's something where there's some kind of writing that's left at one of the desecration sites, and that's why the detective asks Chris for her autograph, is so that he can get a writing sample from her in the novel. But yeah, I mean, I think I can see that with the desecration. I think that in the movie it functions a little bit as just one more thing that's happening. I mean, so here's where I'm going to part ways from most audiences on a couple of areas. Number one, you mentioned like some of the pacing at the beginning.
Right.
If anything, this movie's paced too quickly, in my opinion. Like, I need the 4-hour cut or something.
Yeah, no, I can see and agree with you there, because I feel like I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah,
and
there's
like,
a few points where, yeah.
And like specifically with Damien's mother, I was very confused because she was not found for 3 days in her apartment, yet she was in the...
Yes, the editing there is... And
is that intentional?
I don't know. The editing there is a little weird. And I'm not sure if that's director's cut stuff or not. But yes, the editing there is not good, because we see her in the...
I see her in the hospital. Mother, I'm going to get you out. And then the very next scene is... Oh, yeah, his mother died.
Yeah, we needed some scene of her moving back into the apartment or something like that.
Right, or just like finish off that scene by him like taking her out and walking her out of the hospital back. Like, for God's sake. Like, I was like... Well, at that point, I was trying to think, okay, so are we working with this movie in 2 alternate realities where... Like,
you were really going to town.
Well, yeah, that's what I was trying to find.
Man, I'm gonna have to show you something that really works on this surrealistic level, since you're geared in there, and
I was ready for it.
Instead, you're working at it's just a dumb editing error.
Well, I mean, that's a bad edit.
It is.
Like,
yeah, there's a few flaws like that, I think, in the editing of the movie.
That was a really bad edit. If that's,
yes.
I mean, if that's intentional. Now, if the director has a specific reason for doing that, causing one more disruption in our mental, like, I mean
that's an interesting take on it.
Right. I mean, if that's his intention for it, then I'm willing to accept that. I think it's dumb, but I'm willing to accept that.
Oh, see, if that was his intention, I would go totally for it. Like, I love ambiguity. I love directors just messing with you. I love slow pacing.
Yeah.
You know.
But if it wasn't intentional and they're just like, oh yeah, that probably wasn't the best thing for us to do, then it's like, you got paid too much to do that. Like,
yeah.
So,
and I'd be curious to see... I was trying to check on my phone a little bit, but I don't think that's any different in the theatrical cut.
Okay.
But it's possible something got mixed up there.
It leaves you with a feeling of, wait, what just happened? Like,
right.
What? And same with this Bruno, the guy that gets thrown off the first time.
Oh, Burke Dennings?
Yeah, Burke, yeah.
See, I think that works. I think it's something that's a little bit tough to follow the first time you watch, but when you...
Maybe.
Once
Is
you've
he
seen
in the
movie,
scene? I mean, he's in the scene when she comes down the stairs. Is he in
No.
another scene?
No, he's not. That's somebody else.
That says that you're going to die up there?
Oh, okay, that scene. I
comes
thought you
down
were
the
talking about the
stairs.
spider walk. Yeah, he's at
No,
the party
when she comes down the stairs. Yeah. And that's the only scene that he's in.
No, he's in the earlier scenes when they're filming the movie. Toward the beginning.
Okay.
So he's the director of the movie. And...
Not the drunk guy, though.
Yeah, he is the drunk guy.
The
That's
drunk
where
guy with the turtleneck.
Yeah.
That's
the guy who gets killed.
I didn't think that she was looking at him when she had said that when she was in the parlor there.
No, she wasn't.
Shoot.
Okay, so this is confusing because the guy who she was looking at is an astronaut.
Right.
So you're gonna die up there.
There.
Yes.
Oh, and see, I was picturing her talking to the director.
Okay, I can see. Yeah,
okay.
that's. I'll give you that one.
Okay. Because like you're gonna die up there, like one floor above.
No.
I'm going to throw you out the window.
Way up there.
No. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. No. Okay. I was not confused because I just reread the book.
Right.
But I can totally see where that's confusing.
Right.
Especially the first time you see the movie. No, Burke Dennings is the director. He's the drunk guy.
Right.
He's the one who she's saying, "Are you going to marry him?" and all that. And so he comes by the house and gets chucked out the window.
Chucked out the window, right. It's interesting that because we have two parallel scenes there, right? So here we have that Burke Dennings getting chucked out the window.
Yes.
But then we also have Father
Karras
getting chucked out the window at the end. In completely different circumstances,
yes.
probably.
Yes.
We can only assume that Burke Dennings was thrown out because he wanted to see what was happening in that room.
Right.
And
yep.
On the other hand, Father Karras is trying to save somebody's. I don't know.
It's an act of self-sacrifice.
Right. Yeah. Versus act of self-indulgence on the other hand.
Yes. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the exorcism scene at the end, because I agree with most of the things you're saying about in terms of there's an editing flaw here or there.
Yeah.
I think there's things you can nitpick, or even not nitpick. There are some genuine flaws in the first hour and a half of this movie. The exorcism scene, everything from when Father Merrin shows up on, is note perfect in my opinion. So good. So really powerful filmmaking, great storytelling, just is A+ material.
I would say, from when he shows up until Father Karras dies, perfect.
Yes.
You could not make it any better.
Right. Everything from just how, in the sense it almost functions the same way in terms of the movie as you can point to this flaw here or that flaw here. In a way, it almost works on the same level as it does for the characters, where they're stumbling around, trying to figure this out, and then Father Merrin shows up, and it's just a stabilizing force, both within the story and for the film itself.
Right.
It never ceases to leave me just breathless watching that sequence.
And you can tell that he is just in a different place than everybody else is.
Yes.
Like spiritually, emotionally,
right.
Everything. That character is different.
Yeah.
And so maybe it takes an hour and a half to realize that somebody else is different from somebody else. Maybe that's why we have to have
and it wouldn't have that impact if you jumped into that. If it was a 90-minute movie and you jumped into that after an hour. You need that time.
To be able to oh my God, somebody figure something out.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's something the line I always love is when Karras says to him, "Do you want the background on the case?" Why? That's just...
Right. And says it again, good. And he says, "There's only one person."
Yeah, exactly. There's only one. And the devil's a liar. Don't believe him.
Yeah. Do you think that, would you compare that type of character to Gandalf the White?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, do you think that's where he's being based off of? Is this character that's coming back to be the savior of everything?
Well, no. The actual analog for Father Merrin in real life is Teilhard de Chardin, who is a Jesuit priest who wrote The Phenomenon of Man.
Is he the one in the article about the Vatican you sent me?
Maybe. I don't remember sending you anything.
Well, you didn't. You think you posted it on the Facebook page.
Could be. I don't remember. Recently?
The Exorcist guy from the Vatican.
Oh, no. That's Father Gabriel Amorth.
Okay.
Who, this was his favorite movie before he passed away, and actually William Friedkin was invited to attend one of the exorcisms he did. So William Friedkin got to attend a real-life exorcism, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
But yeah, so Teilhard de Chardin was a Jesuit archaeologist and philosopher, and depending on who you ask, he's either a genius or a terrible heretic, or both. Possibly because nobody actually understands what he wrote, because it's way over. It's like reading Stephen Hawking. It's like the theological version of Stephen Hawking.
I've read some Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, you can get through it. Right. But it's like, I don't quite know what he said. It's so Chardin is like, well, if you take it this way, he's a horrible heretic. If you take it that way, he's a genius.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that regardless of whether or not Blatty based him on Gandalf at all, there's certainly, I think it's a good parallel. of this kind of wiser mentor figure who kind of comes in and sets things
Right.
to right, and his presence is a stabilizing force.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that I mean, it just is, I don't know, incredible. I mean, I knew coming in that the older priest, whoever he was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I knew, is that he was going to die. I did not realize that it was going to go down that way. And I think that going down in that way when you're alone with a demon, I think also sends this different kind of message where there does need to be there needs to be two fathers there, right? I mean,
yep.
not necessarily two fathers, but two figures. I mean, there needs to be more than just one person trying to attempt to stabilize somebody's life. I mean, I don't know if you want to draw those kind of parallels to our own lives, so with that as the director's intent or not. But
Right. No, it's great. And I think there's also this sense of initiation that runs through the film, this passing of the torch from Marin to Karis. And
for 10 seconds.
for 10 seconds, it's not long.
I mean, his intention wasn't for it to be for 10 seconds.
Right.
But his intention was for it to be a little bit longer than that.
Right. And then there's a really open question of who exactly does the title refer to? Is it Karis? Is it Marin? Is it, some combination of both? It's that, and it really, in a sense, it is both, because Marin is the exorcist, but it's ultimately Karis who draws out the demon.
Right.
So let's switch gears just for a minute and talk about the controversy surrounding this movie. So I remember the first I heard from it, because I grew up evangelical, was that it was satanic and you should never watch it.
You're a Methodist, we didn't care.
In fact, I'd still feel uncomfortable telling my parents that I've watched several times. So, Mom and Dad, if you're watching,
Were your
sorry.
parents also not okay with Harry Potter? Like, I feel like...
No, they were okay with it. I don't know. We had Simpsons, no. Harry Potter, yes.
Yeah, Simpsons was a definite no in my house. But I feel like that was for most Christian families, because they're presenting an un-Christian view of the family, which I get. That's fine. That's fair. That's a rule I'm going to follow.
It seems so tame now when you watch it, but...
Correct.
Yes.
Because we watch South Park.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But yeah, so Billy Graham, as I alluded to at the beginning, famously said that the very celluloid was possessed in this film.
I disagree. I don't think that, especially in those last 30 minutes, I don't think I've felt... there are very few times where I felt more connected to the church than when I was watching that scene.
Exactly.
And, I mean... maybe he's just pissed that he wasn't Catholic, that we're evangelicals doing the exorcism, I don't know.
Right.
But I just felt so connected to the church, because I felt like, I mean, for God's sakes, there's like a part of the canon that goes through how to do an exorcism for this part, and it's just so, not lethargic, what am I looking for? Like, so... so repetitive, like the masses, right? So you go to mass every week.
Liturgical.
Liturgical, that's a good word for it. It's like the word for it.
Yeah.
So, it's just like time after time, and it's like, let's take a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do it again. Let's take a break, we're going to come back and do it again. And, I mean, I'm assuming that when he talked about he had done this for months in Africa, that he did the exact same thing. Let's take a break, we're going to come back and do it again. We're going to come back and do it again, and do it again, and do it again, and do it again, until you're healed. And I don't see... I mean, there's definitely a parallel between that and going to Mass every week and healing yourself that way, right? Because the Eucharist is you filling those holes that you have created in your life so that you can become more Christ-like. And obviously, we're just taking somebody in an exorcism from such an extreme case to getting them to the point where they can do those kinds of things as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, I mean, how do you not feel like that's a spiritual experience?
Yeah, it's the
not
best
like
Christian movie ever made.
Well, yeah, I think it's the most realistic Christian movie ever made. I don't think that there's, when we have Father Merritt on the stairs, it's like why, Father
Karis.
Yeah. I don't know why I can't remember that name. on the stairs, and it's like, why is this happening? It's like, the devil puts these things in our lives to make us doubt, make us feel worthless, and, you know, those kinds of things. And it's like, yeah, you know, I'm reflecting on, like, one of my best friends, when she was, I don't know, we were 15 maybe, and her 7-year-old niece died with natural cause, like just died, right?
Yeah.
And that was it. She's done. She's still been done with the church. And it's like, well, why did that happen? And I feel like a lot of the blame for her goes on God, whereas maybe the blame needs to be shifted to another place. I mean, it's a very complicated issue, but it's just like, you know, we're put in these situations to, you know, have that self-doubt and those kinds of things, and the Exorcist is a extreme case of that, and it's like we need to feel worthless in order to stay strong, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've always felt like this is a film that requires belief of you, at least while you're watching it. Like, you can be an atheist before and after this movie. You can't be an atheist while you're watching it. And that bears out with William Friedkin, who he's ethnically Jewish, but non-religious himself. He describes himself as agnostic or atheist in various interviews. But he has said on multiple occasions, I had to be a believer when I was making The Exorcist. Like, I had to actually believe while I was making this movie. And I think it's a movie that forces you into that place of belief. And that's a really powerful experience.
Yeah. And you can come out completely faithfully, exactly the same as where you were, depending on whatever religion or non-religion or whatever you're at. I mean, but during those 30 minutes, it's hard to not say that there's not some sort of something going on there.
Yeah, it backs you into a corner and forces your face into
you need
it.
to make you need to make a choice, and for Christians, I guess there's one clear choice. For everybody else, there's probably multiple, and I'd love to get into that conversation with somebody, but...
Yeah. So in terms of the heritage of The Exorcist, we have this film, and then we have The Exorcist 2, which I've never seen. So I have the whole set because it was cheaper to buy the box set
than it was to buy this one.
Yes.
That's how they get you, man. That's how they get you.
I've never seen any of the others. So Exorcist 2 is described as the worst movie ever made. So that took a little bit of a dive off the cliff.
Right.
Exorcist 3 is directed by William Peter Blatty and is based on his novel Legion. And then there's the prequel movie, which is kind of interesting because they hired Paul Schrader to do it, and then he got fired. And they brought in Rennie Harlan of Deep Blue Sea fame. Did you ever see Deep Blue Sea?
That was the first R-rated movie that I ever saw. I was over at my friend's house, and like we convinced his father to let us watch it.
Yeah,
and then we watched it, and we were like, this is what R ratings are? Like, we were just so disappointed that, like, that's what an R-rated movie is like.
Well, you had better taste than me at that age, because I remember loving Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, I remember going like... Well, I remember being like, I was supposed to be scared out of my mind, and I was just like, this is a good movie. Like, I mean, I thought it was good.
Right. Because it just wasn't scary.
I was like 13, you know?
Exactly.
Like, but
the one thing I'll always give Deep Blue Sea, and spoilers for Deep Blue Sea.
There's no but 10 years is the limit.
Yeah,
10 years you're allowed to talk about publicly.
When Samuel L. Jackson's character gives his inspirational speech and then is instantly eaten by a shark, like, that's just so good.
That was the best scene
that's
in
the
the
best
movie.
Like, that's genuinely a great moment in that movie. Everything else is just crap. But so Rennie Harlan of Deep Blue Sea fame came in and took it over, so there's actually 2 different cuts of the Exorcist prequel. And then there is a TV series now on Fox, which I have been watching and is absolutely awful. I might do a video just when I finish season 1 just on how bad it is.
I feel like,
it's incredible how bad it is.
To quote a radio host in the morning, this is truly the golden age of television right now that we're living in.
Not the Exorcist TV show.
Unfortunately, network television has not realized that you need to spend money in order to actually, money on, like, legitimate storylines and not just special effects.
Right.
Like, I feel like Showtime and HBO and TNT has caught on to it, and like not AMC.
Yeah, AMC.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
AMC. They've all caught on to it, and they've realized that if you put good money into a good story, that's the best television that you can make.
Well, I was hopeful because Hannibal was on NBC, and Hannibal is.
I was never sold on that.
Oh,
I watched very few.
So
of it,
good. It is so good.
NBC just, I don't know. They make like one good show.
I know,
every 10
but
years.
Hannibal, they knocked it out of the park. But
For 2 years.
they did not. I mean, to give you an example of how bad the Exorcist TV series is, like, you have the slow burn quality in the movie
Right.
of let's go to the doctor, let's go to the psychologist, and the priest doesn't even buy it and all that. Like 10 minutes into the first episode of the first season, she's got a demon. Let's get it out. Come on. And it's a classic example of we have special effects, so we can do all this crazy stuff, and it's just
Right. But that's not the point.
I hate watching it at this point, so that's fine. Any final thoughts on The Exorcist?
I would say not
Not scary,
not scary,
but that's okay.
I would say thought-provoking.
Yes.
And I would say tension-filled.
I completely agree.
I think that movie was solid. I mean, I feel like it made me think. Its intention is not to scare. The intention of the movie is not to scare me. The intention of the movie is to come across with a point, which is exactly what a movie should do.
Yes.
Scary or not, it should not scare you or like give you just action sequences, Michael Bay.
Yes.
And it should come across with a specific point that's not super cliche, that has some depth to it.
I totally agree. I thought we were going to disagree more, but I think we wound up agreeing just about everything.
Well, I think we agree. Yeah, we just agreed. Yeah. Well, whatever.
So, in terms of what's next, you're having a baby. Well, your wife is having a baby this next month, so scheduling might be a little interesting. We'll try and get at least one more out before the end of the year.
No, she's on maternity leave for 3 months. I can take 3 hours.
We'll have like 5 more before the end of the year. You'll just be sick of being at home.
No, I gotta come home. No, sorry, I gotta go.
Okay, well, there you go. Are you ready to make the jump beyond the English language?
No.
Okay. That was a really honest answer. You're not ready for subtitles yet.
No. You gotta give me till February.
Oh, February?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Oh, you can't come up with 3 more English movies?
Oh, I can, but, so many good foreign
No,
movies.
I need 3 months to process.
Okay,
Do you
so
think-
3 more.
Yeah.
You want 3 more in English, and then we can make the jump.
Yeah,
to
November,
foreign.
December, January.
Okay.
February.
I like it.
Let's jump.
All right, so I can tell you 2 of them we're going to do.
All right.
And I'll have to give some thought to which one I want to do next.
Okay.
But I want to do Eraserhead. That was the other one we were thinking of doing for this month.
Is that the
but
guy with the nails in the head?
no, you're thinking of Hellraiser,
Okay.
which I've read the book, but I have not seen
All
the
right.
movie.
Anyways.
Eraserhead is David Lynch.
Okay.
Which, given how much you were looking for like surreal levels in this, maybe you might just be all primed for David Lynch. I think I'd be freaked out about how many weird movies I'm going to choose. And then I want to do Passive Glory, which is one of Stanley Kubrick's early ones.
Okay.
And is just a fantastic example of visual storytelling.
All right.
So we'll do those 2 sometime in the next couple months, and I'll come
Throw
up
in
with
like
a third.
White Christmas.
No, let's skip White Christmas.
It's old.
Yeah, it's old. There's other criteria than that.
All right. Well, I got that one.
And then I think when we make the jump to foreign language, I think we're going to start with Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman. So you got to get into Ingmar Bergman eventually.
Great. Probably around February in the depressing months of
Exactly.
winter, I'll be like,
It's a great time to watch Ingmar
right?
Bergman. No, Ingmar Bergman's perfect for depressing. It's just a bunch of Scandinavians sitting around contemplating the meaningless of existence.
I'm Scandinavian. I can,
The
I
death
contemplate
of
the
God
meaning of
and-
it. Yeah,
yeah.
that's fine. That
Oh, I have a Scandinavian joke we can wrap up with.
that's gonna be racist.
How can you be racist against Scandinavians? They're like the whitest people in the world. Why does Norway put barcodes on its ship?
I don't know.
So they can Scandinavian. I'm Bendy Bono.
I'm Ben Kirkwall.
Goodbye.
Bye. Holy crap, that was bad. Do you have a knife or something to cut this
I was just gonna dig into it with
your teeth?
with this.
Oh.
I'll start going to town on it now. I'll get through the wax.
Good thing you're doing this before we start the show.
That's
It would
right.
have been embarrassing.
See, getting there.
Again, glad we did this before we started the show. There would have a comment on there about how terrible.
Oh, I almost got it. Oh,
There you go. There you go. I see it. Yep, there you go.
all right.